Hi, my name is Jill Castellano, and I'm the editor-in-chief of the Daily Pennsylvanian. I'm here with UA presidential candidates Aidan McConnell and Jane Meyer. They're going to answer some questions today. It's the second of 3 days of debates.
Hi, my name is Aidan McConnell. I'm a junior here at the University of Pennsylvania. I'm a political economy major. I've been in the UA for 3 years, and this year I'm honored to announce my candidacy for UA president. Along with Jane Meyer, I'm looking forward to a great debate today, and would like to thank the DP so much for having me out today.
Hi, I'm Jane Meyer, and I'm also a junior here at Penn. I'm studying political science, and I'm so excited to be here to answer some questions for you all.
Great. All right, so we're going to get started into our first question. Who was going to go first? Yes. Okay, Jane. Okay, so our first question for Jane is, why did you choose to run for UA president?
Valid question. Very good question. So I've been on the UA for the past 2 years. I was the communications director, and then I'm currently the social justice committee director. And I've also been a member of a lot of different student groups. I'm done political life. I'm former vice president of Penn Democrats. I've been involved in Hillel. And what I love about Penn is that everyone finds their community and really finds a safe space there. And that's something that they love. Like I'm sure you found here at the DP, you found your community and that you love that. As UA president, I think I can help the UA make these communities even better, take the student voice into account to make positive change on campus.
Okay, and now we'll hear a response from Aidan.
Cool. So originally when I was working in the UA, even way back when I began on my freshman year, I realized that when I was working on a lot of different projects, whether it was financial aid related, subsidizing EMT funding for MERT, used to cost $1,000 to be an EMT here at Penn, there was a lot of intersection in the concerns that students had that I didn't realize that were really kind of evident on campus. And I realized that while it was important to be involved in one organization, the UA also seemed to have the capacity to make all those passions and all those concerns for students really relate to one another. Over the past few days, I've been talking to a lot of student organizations. Over the past 3 years, I have the opportunity to engage in a lot of these organizations and really participate. And I'd like to bring that to the UA.
Okay, moving on to the second question. Aidan, how did you choose your running mate, and what does your pairing bring to the UA?
Sure. So my running mate is Bill Ding. He's running for vice president, obviously. Bill Ding's a great guy, really, and I really enjoy working with him because he tends to have a sense for what the freshmen and the individuals who are first really beginning to engage with Penn are really going through. He's been an RA for a few years. He's always been really concerned about those things, and so whether it's a concern as simple as whether or not laundry machines are effective or whether or not food services are going well, he really seems to be in tune with the people who sometimes tend to kind of fall through the cracks when they first come to Penn. I really love to kind of bring the passion and the interest of the freshmen into consideration, and that's what I'm hoping Bill and I will be able to do when we hopefully have the chance to serve as your UA representatives and UA president and vice president.
Great. Okay, and now from Jane.
So I'm running with Ray Clark, and Ray and I have worked together in multiple organizations, and we know we work well together and are effective together. So that is one reason why the pair of us leading the UA will know be effective leadership. He also brings different communities to the table that I don't have as much experience with, and so putting us together as well, we'll be able to bring diverse perspectives. He's the co-chair of Emoja, and so he has experience working on the 5B, and together I think we can really speak to all of campus.
Great, thank you. Okay, moving on. Jane, how would you analyze your past year on the UA, and what do you plan to change in the upcoming year?
So this past year on the UA as the Social Justice Committee Director, I really got experience learning how to lead a committee of individuals who have diverse interests, but we're all trying to work towards similar goals, towards improving the student experience here at Penn. One thing that I am so proud of is my work with Travis Shingledecker, who's on my committee, in terms of sexual assault prevention. We, this whole entire year, had bi-weekly meetings, are creating curriculum with 1 in 4 ASAP and Just Mertz to implement sexual assault bystander intervention trainings, and it's going to be piloted next year, and I think that's so exciting to really see a tangible project. Moving forward, I think Joyce and Josh really set us up in terms of creating a lot of different student boards to make change, and now it's time to use those boards, such as the Student Financial Services Advisory Board, to make sure that the student voice is heard by the administrators.
Great, thank you. And from Aidan?
So this year I actually got a kind of interesting experience because on one end I was working with the students in the UA, and on the other hand I also had the privilege of being able to work with the Budget and Finance Committee of the university trustees. And I'll tell you, it's two different and completely just out there angles when it comes to whether or not you're interacting with the students and whether or not you're interacting with what the trustees' interests are. So a lot of what my focus was this year was working on financial aid programs on the trustee level and also working on funding programs to the funding steering assembly and things along those lines. I would say that for the coming year especially, I'd really like to integrate a little bit more what the trustees are doing for financial aid concerns, as a lot of students have brought up the fact that their tuition increases are really impacting them, and being able to advocate on their behalf for the UA would be very beneficial.
Great. Okay, moving on. Aidan, what are your thoughts on your predecessor's leadership, and what would you do the same or differently?
So with a mind of my, I guess Joyce Kim, the current president here in the UA, she's done a really wonderful job of doing what I had always hoped the UA would do, which is reach out to a lot of student groups, and rather than just coming up to the bar and the administration, also making sure that there are relevant interests in the students that really are addressed. So for example, she worked with the international student organization AIS this year to create international student orientation, which was something that had happened in 2008 but had kind of fallen off the radar. She was also very effective in advocating during a lot of some very rough times here, whether it was mental health concerns, whether it was some of the protests and student concerns for the Black Lives Matter campaign. And she was really able to channel that in a very productive way when it came to university council and other relevant administrators, so that there was a lot of dialogue and a lot of understanding. So I would do a lot of the same things in many ways. I'm hoping to get the administrators to really acknowledge a few other things on the table, kind of working with Joyce Kim's model. The financial aid in particular, what happens with regards to students who are in lower socioeconomic classes, is one of the projects that I really envision being able to work with in the UA.
Wonderful. Okay, and now we'll hear a response from Jane.
So I really admire both Joyce and Josh for their leadership, and they're both mentors of mine and have taught me a lot. In particular, Joyce's fierce advocacy work on behalf of many different communities here at Penn is something that I admire, and I hope to continue on into next year and to include many different student voices into the student government conversation. I think they have set us up, as I said, with a lot of different boards, and I want to use those to advocate for change.
Thank you. Okay, so Jane, what are your 3 main goals for the UA internally next year?
So one thing that I think is really important is that UA members get along well and understand each other's passions, because in order to doing that, we could be more effective. If a student comes to you and has an idea in mind and you know that someone on a different committee has expertise, you can connect those two interests and bring a project out of that. Another goal of the UA is to communicate more with the student body to really make sure that they know that we're working on relevant projects and how to take advantage of all the work that we're doing. And a third goal is to work on projects that affect all students. For example, improving Penn Transit is something that can affect the experience of all students here at Penn, and I really hope to see change implemented in that realm.
And from Aidan?
Sure. So I remember my sophomore year in the UA had a bit of kind of a rough patch in its leadership that year. One of the things that I really envision of the 3 potential is being able to do retreat programming, things that allow students to kind of harness those passions that you were talking about and put it in some kind of really community colloquial level, maybe multiple times a year rather than just what the UA does, which is usually 1 time a year. Also, bylaw amendments. This year, the treasurer and the speaker sometimes don't always agree. There's some bylaws things we can do there. And then lastly, as Jane mentioned as well, I agree with the communications idea and how effective that can be.
Okay. For Aidan, what style of leader are you, and how will that impact the culture of the UA?
Sure. So I would say first and foremost, I'm relatively self-reflective in the way that I at least try my best to really listen to student concerns before making a particular judgment. One of the things I really tried to do this year in my campaign is reach out to as many groups as absolutely possible before even creating my planks, so that way, at the very least, the student groups that are most relevant to the concerns I was addressing, so for example, sexual assault policy, for example, cultural competency, all these things were addressed prior in the discussion that I had with individuals who really know things on the ground. I'm hoping to do that in the same way regardless of who I'm talking to, if it's a student, an administrator, a trustee, a member of West Philadelphia community, and making sure that I can communicate and really facilitate their goals rather than just necessarily trampling on them with my own ideas.
Thank you. And from Jane?
So I think it's really important to remember is that we're all students here at Penn. We are all peers, and on that level, we can all connect. In terms of leadership, I think I enjoy connecting to many different students from different backgrounds, and I think growing that personal baseline connection can lead to fruitful collaborations, to open communication, which is really important, and also to empowering individuals to take action on behalf of the student body or to feel comfortable advocating to the UA.
Thank you. And for the next question, Jane, what are some specific ways that you plan to better engage the student body?
So one thing that I think will be particularly helpful for student groups is publicizing which UA members and which NEC appointed representatives sit on various university committees. These committees are direct links to the administration, and we need to make sure that these students are utilizing that power that they have, and relevant student groups and individuals with interests that are relevant to that specific committee are able to communicate with them to express their ideas and interests, and then the UA representative or NEC appointed representative can relay those interests to the administrator.
Great. And now we'll hear from Aidan.
Sure. So two things. One, I really agree with Jane Meyer about the idea about making sure that appointments are publicized. Second, one of the things that I'm talking about in my campaign this year is the implementation of action groups. I worked with Impact Magazine last semester to promote something called the Student Selections Initiative. And what we really focused on was trying to find different ways to have student inputs not in Penn student government involved in mental health. I'd love to get action groups like that involved in the UA and actually have them communicate directly to administration as well, and maybe get their passions and interests directly involved rather than just indirectly.
Thank you. And a question for Aidan. What are your thoughts regarding the relationship between PSG branches? What are some initiatives you would like to implement to improve them?
Sure. So I'd say first and foremost, I'd really love to get SKU, which does the white paper each every 5 years, to have, I think, even enhanced communication, not just with the UA, but also even with Class Board, SPEC, and other organizations that aren't always traditionally associated so much with policymaking here at Penn. One of the reasons I'd like to do that, of course, is because SPEC actually does have a major vantage point or angle in which students interact on campus, and being able to have greater collaboration and facilitation through presidential committees and things along those lines would be very effective. Another thing, too, the Financial Steering Assembly started up this year, and that also involves groups like SPEC, Class Board, the UA, and being able to talk on a fundraising level as well for the student groups that are really interested and really involved with UA budgeting is really important to emphasize that in that assembly and in that administrative function.
Thank you. And now we'll hear from Jane.
So again, I think this ties back partially to personal connections and personal relationships and being able to work well together. As a Pinnacle leader, I know a lot of different student government leaders. The Office of Student Affairs is always filled with different leaders, and it's really fun to talk about their projects. In particular, I think if all the branches came together to work towards one initiative, for instance, a wellness initiative, that could be very powerful and impactful for the student body if all 6 branches work as one.
Great. And next question is for Jane. What are some metrics for success of your leadership, and how do you plan to be held accountable?
So I think in terms of the student body judging their student government, the tangible effects in their lives is the best way for someone to judge the success of leadership. If for a whole entire year you've worked and don't necessarily have anything to show for that, that's improving the lives of students, I think in part you've failed as a student government representative. That's why I'm so proud of the work of sexual assault that I've been doing this past year, because come fall there's going to be a tangible project that the student body will be able to benefit from.
Great. Thank you. And Aidan?
Sure. So I see it as 2 levels. On one end, I do see it as the project idea, and being able to say that you're able to accomplish something that really impacted student lives is really important. One of the things that the UA is also improving on a lot, though, is also the process toward getting there. A lot of times you're working with administrators and student groups that are from all over campus, 10, 12 different, 15 different people. And sometimes about the process is also making sure that you can satisfy their intermediary requests and making sure that you can impact their lives and their perceptions on campus, even if the project has made a hitch, and just being able to better the student perceptions here at Penn.
Great. And moving on to our last question. What makes you a better candidate?
That's the challenging question at the end. 'Cause I think Jane's a wonderful person, wonderful candidate. I would say that one of the reasons why I decided to run for the UA overall in the presidential race was, again, I've had a lot of time to really self-reflect about the ideas, initiatives, and things I've experienced at Penn, both within the UA and outside of the UA. I work in the West Philadelphia community and financial literacy initiatives. I work within campus on leadership development initiatives, and I've had a lot of focus even on different academic curriculums. I tortured myself by doing both a med school curriculum and a Wharton curriculum at one point. So being able to draw all those things together and understand it on a personal level will help me relate on an organizational, institutional, and general student body level to make sure that I can ultimately really internalize what people are telling me on a day-to-day basis.
Great. And Jane, what makes you a better candidate?
So I think people are truly the products of their experiences, and I've had a great experience here at Penn on the UA and off the UA. And the diversity of experiences that I've had in terms of leadership, in terms of being a member of various student groups and connecting with a diverse set of students, I'll bring that perspective to the UA, as well as the working perspective of being on cabinet this past year, so I know how to effectively oversee a body and make sure that we have tangible projects for the student body.
Great. Thanks. That wraps up today's UA debate.